Belly fat isn't stubborn because your body's punishing you. And it's not the toxin or the hormone you've been blaming either. It's smaller than that and far less exciting. There's a receptor sitting inside a single fat cell in your lower belly. This explains why many people call belly fat stubborn. Look, I used to blame the same things you probably are. I blamed stress. I blamed a slow metabolism. I blamed genetics I figured I couldn't do anything about. I told clients to just be patient without ever being able to tell them why patience was actually the answer. And I'm not going to tell you I've got this all figured out, but it isn't something I just made up on a whiteboard. I've helped hundreds of men lose their belly fat. It's also held up to decades of testing and studies, and it's still holding up right now. So I'll show you the actual biology first, then exactly what you do with it. And there's one mechanism underneath all this and 5 different ways it shows up once you're actually trying to lose the fat. Your fat cells don't just decide on their own to let go of fat. They're waiting for a signal. Every time you go into a deficit, no matter how you got there, no matter how, your body sends that signal out. Basically, your nervous system telling fat cells to release. And every fat cell has 2 types of receptors sitting there waiting for it. One that says let go and the other that says hold on. Most of your body has these 2 roughly balanced. But the lower fat on your lower belly, and even more so around your hips and your flanks, this is more of the hold on type than the let go type. And when the same signal shows up from the same deficit, the response can be and probably will be smaller. Because that bit of you simply built to resist it more than anywhere else. And this isn't theory or someone just guessing. It's sitting right there in actual human fat samples, and it's been for decades. Now here's where I really need you to listen to me, because this is where most people just get it wrong. I'm not talking about visceral fat, the stuff that's dangerous and wrapped around your organs. That's wired almost the opposite way. It responds fast, and it's usually the first thing to shrink once you're in a deficit, not the last. And I've already made a whole video on that one. This is the fat you can actually pinch, the layer sitting right under your fingertips. It's a different tissue and it's wired differently, and unfortunately running on its own clock. And look, cortisol does affect your appetite and where you store fat over time. I'm not saying stress isn't real, but I could sit here and blame cortisol instead, sell you some tea or some diet or some system, or maybe even a breathing routine that will get a lot more views because that's what people already want to hear. But I'm not going to do that. Cortisol diets, foods, teas, and vagus nerve resets don't touch the receptors actually doing the work in your fat cells. They're a completely different system entirely. You can bring cortisol to almost 0, and that receptor ratio in your lower belly doesn't move because it was never a cortisol problem in the first place. Go looking for the specific diet that's supposed to fix this, and you'll waste your time. Calorie restriction moves both the visceral fat and the stubborn layer. So does surgery. Nobody's found a food or macro trick that hits one fat depot over another, and plenty have tried. And trust me, if there was one, I'd be telling you about it. This receptor doesn't care if you're doing keto, carnivore, or just counting things the boring way. It cares about one thing and one thing only: how long you actually stay in the deficit. And one of my clients, Hossam, had been in an actual deficit for a while, doing everything right. And by the time he had lost 30 pounds, he still hadn't really registered any notable change in his belly. And that was after 30 pounds. His waist measurement hadn't stalled. It was coming down reliably week after week the whole time. He just couldn't see it in the mirror. The belly is one of the last places change becomes obvious, even with tape measure proving it's actually happening. 35 pounds, I think it was like 35, 36 pounds in, that's when it finally clicked for him. And bear in mind, we didn't change his plan. It was just that the part of him carrying the most hold receptors had been catching up the entire time. The evidence was in the numbers well before it was in the mirror. And the only way Hossam could stay motivated was by trusting the tape measure along with the scale and my reassurance. This really gets people's back up, but one of the things that gets most people in general, in my view, is guessing calories. Even if you've got really far, you've got this far without fully tracking or tracking at all, you won't get rid of your belly fat in the way you want to without tracking. Of course, there's a caveat, unless you're willing to go really restrictive, like keto, carnivore, or lots of fasting. And then you're going to have to commit to that for life, because if you change one of those things, you'll put it back on. And you'll also sacrifice your muscle too in the process. Remember, we are not talking about tracking. We are talking about accurately tracking everything. And I hate to be one of those people, but if you don't want to spend the time tracking here, you're really missing a very valuable lesson: portion control. You will build the ability to eyeball eventually. I don't mean eating like a size 0 model to make sure you stay under. I mean eating balanced meals and building space for the meals out and the things that go with life. The leaner you get, the smaller your deficit needs to be without completely wrecking your training and energy. And the smaller the deficit is, the less room there is for a mistake to hide in it. If you're trying to guess, you're very likely guessing wrong. Every time this has actually been tested, comparing what people say they eat against what they really burn, rather than just trusting food diaries, the answer comes back the same. Most people undercount, and it's not by a little. The average underreporting is around 15%. Think about the oil in the pan or butter in the pan you never measured. On a big deficit, that disappears into the noise. On the tight one, you need to finish the job and actually lose the belly fat. That same amount can be the entire deficit. So you haven't necessarily stored, but you're eating your deficit back in oil you weren't writing down. Now remember, your body doesn't run on a daily ledger. It runs on a weekly and even bi-weekly one. You have one heavy meal or you miss a session, and it doesn't undo 4 days of being on track. But if you're weighing in every morning and reacting to every wobble, you'll convince yourself you're failing on days you're still comfortably in deficit. And then you adopt the behaviors of someone who is failing. Remember, the scale swings for reasons that have nothing to do with fat, water, sodium, a heavy dinner still sitting in you from the night before. So zoom out the week, and that's where the real number actually is. As you get leaner, your body burns slightly less than the math predicts. And yes, that's not folklore, but it's also nowhere near, your metabolism is broken. It's not the case. We are talking around 100 to 300 calories a day, depending on how much you've lost. This isn't damage, and it doesn't need some special reset protocol. It's your body getting slightly more efficient as you lean down, the same way it always has. And if you expect it, it just becomes a footnote. But if you miss it, it feels like proof the whole thing has just stopped working. Now this problem brings it back to where it started. Your belly is supposed to lag behind the rest of you. And this isn't because you're doing something wrong, and not because your body's somehow different to everyone else's, but because that tissue carries more hold receptors than release receptors. And the same signal simply takes longer to get the same result. Everything else responding first isn't a warning sign. It's exactly what biology predicts. So don't try to layer in more crunches, extra cardio, or make some wild calorie cuts. Find ways that will help you repeat what you're already doing because it's working. Ask yourself what will ensure you can actually stay consistent. And there's this moment where most men switch diets or try to find a new program or decide this approach just doesn't work for their body. Like they're unique, they're an exception, they're an outlier. And this is always the exact moment their belly fat was about to start catching up. Fat cells have been tracked through sustained weight loss, and you can see the receptor balance itself shift. The hold signal gets weaker the longer someone actually stays in a deficit. But if you switch plans at this point, you run the risk of putting your fat back on faster because of your extreme hunger, then getting frustrated, losing more muscle and less fat this time around because you've used a more extreme approach, and then getting stuck barely eating anything with extremely low energy. At this point, you're busy looking for a villain you created with a constant search for the next hack. There's no hack. There are just principles and behaviors that can become habits. So remember, your belly isn't behind because you need some special protocol. It's behind because of a receptor ratio sitting in the exact tissue, and it moves the longer you stay in a deficit that's already working. And I'm a firm believer of making things as easy as possible. So if you want the exact 5 meals that help me stay at 15% body fat for the best part of 3 years, watch this one next, and I'll see you there.